The Torah outlines for us that when the Jewish people left Egypt, right in the first psukim, beshalach paro esohom v'lo nochom Elohim derech eretz plishtim ki koravu. The Lord did not allow them, because they went with the pillar of smoke and the pillar of fire that led them. So the Lord did not take them derech eretz plishtim. What is derech eretz plishtim? Now we have in general, the geography here is mysterious to us because it identifies places that are not known to us. Lifnei Baal Tzifon. So Baal Tzifon was very known to them, but we no longer have any idea where Baal Tzifon was. And Nichicho, opposite Baal Tzifon, Tachanu Alayom. They would encamp upon the seashore. Which sea? What are we talking about here? And that raises the general question that the Meforshim try to deal with, is where is Yam Suf? So, a little boy told me that Yam Suf is a hotel in Eilat. And he's 100% right. But where is Yam Suf? Where's the whole construct here? What happened? So, derech eretz plishtim, most of the Meforshim, and even the modern day biblical commentators, there were certain ancient caravan routes that were the trade routes between Asia and the Middle East and Egypt. Now, Egypt is always a major commercial center. It's the empire of the south. At the time of Yosef, we see from the Tanakh that Egypt was, so to speak, the center of the world. So there were roads that led, not necessarily paved highways, but roads that led between the Middle East and Egypt. And later on, the Romans would name them. They had the Via Maris, the Road of the Sea. The Road of the Sea is derech eretz plishtim because it goes down from Damascus down the Jordan River, crosses over into Israel, and then it goes down across the country, and it comes out approximately at Yaffo, and then it goes down through Gaza and through the northern part of Sinai, because the northern part of Sinai has oases, El Arish, etc. There are oases on the way, and that's how the road went, and it went to Egypt. And one branch of it went to what would later be the city of Alexandria. There always was a city there, but it wasn't called Alexandria. And the other went to what later would be called Fostad, and then Cairo, and which in the time of the Parsha was probably the city of Nof, which is the city of Memphis in English, in the translation. It's not Memphis, Tennessee, but all those cities in the Mississippi Delta of the United States are named after Egyptian cities in the Nile Delta. And in fact, Cairo, Illinois, and in fact, the whole area was called, and it's called till today, Little Egypt. Okay. So that's Derech Eretz Plishtim. Derech Eretz Plishtim is along the Mediterranean coast, up to Gaza, into Eretz Israel. And there the Torah says, Lo Nochem Elohim, Derech Eretz Plishtim. The Bon Shalom didn't let them go there. Kikoravu, Rashi interprets, Koravu, it's easy to come, easy to go. Pen Yinoche Ma'om Birosa Milchama, when the Jewish people will encounter challenges, as they will, the Torah predicts it, they encounter it right away with Amalek. So if they're on a direct road from Egypt, they can turn around and go back to Egypt. And we see that throughout the period that they were in the desert, they are always saying, Rosh Hashuva Mitzrayim. There's always a tendency to do. So the Rebbeinu Shalom Kaviyachal made it hard for them to do that. So where are they then? If they're not on the coast, if they're not on the Mediterranean coast, where are they? And where is Yam Suf? So on that, there are all sorts of theories, because we don't really have, so to speak, biblical evidence. One thing's for sure, Yam Suf is not the Red Sea. Because the Red Sea is, one branch of it comes up to Eilat and Aqaba on one side of the Sinai Peninsula, and the other one goes into the Nile Delta. They didn't cross the Red Sea. And Yam Suf, Suf means reed, and many say that was a mistake of the King James Version, that it was the Reed Sea, and then the Bocher HaZetzer, the one that always makes the typographical errors in all of our wonderful books, so he left out an E, and the Reed Sea became the Red Sea. But it's not the Red Sea as we know it today, and there really is no reason why that sea should be called the Red Sea, because it's not red, and there's nothing red about it. In any event, so where is Yam Suf? Now today the problem is complicated by the fact that the Suez Canal was built. When the Suez Canal was built, it connected parts of the Nile Delta with the Mediterranean Ocean. And it made the port at Port Said. So Israel, unfortunately, we were involved a number of times in wars there. So we're familiar with Port Said, and we're familiar with the Suez Canal, and we're familiar with what are called the Bitter Lakes, which are saltwater lakes that separate the Sinai from Egypt. So many say that those saltwater lakes is Yam Suf, because there's, even today, there are a lot of reeds that grow out of the water, and that the water is deep, and that in order to, if you're not going on the coast, in order to get from Egypt into the Sinai, you have to cross in that area. And before the time there were bridges, etc. So that was really almost impossible to do. Now, if we assume that, and again, there are all sorts of theories here, but if we assume that, so then there arises another question. The Torah says that the Jewish people, the back of the Jewish people was to this body of water. Now the question is, on which side of the body of water were they? On the east side or on the west side? So the simple explanation would be that they hadn't crossed it yet, they were on the west side. And they have to cross over to the east side. But it says in the Torah, Nevuchi mein boretz, Paro said. They're confused. Sogar aleim amidbor, the desert has enclosed them. So many Meforshim are of the opinion that they were on the east side and that they turned around to face Egypt again. That's why Nevuchi mein boretz, they don't know the difference between east and west. Instead of keeping on going east, they turned around towards the west, and therefore Paro feels that they have no idea of where they're going and that he'll be able to surround them. And therefore the lakes, the ocean, the water, whatever it was that was at their back was on the east side and not on the west side. And therefore we would have a strange situation which, you can look a lot of this up in the atlas. There's an atlas here, the shul has it, Das Mikra, the famous set of Moshe Rav Kook, the commentary to Torah, Nevi'im, and Ksuvim. It's an excellent thing to have in the library and to look at. But they also publish an atlas, maps. So they have a section on Yam Suf with different theories as to how it was. But one of the theories is that they simply went east, turned around, came back west, had to cross Yam Suf back again, and then somehow eventually turned east again, southeast, in order to get into the Sinai Desert and the Sinai Peninsula, and that eventually they had to come back up the eastern side of the peninsula to come back up towards Eilat and Aqaba and cross into Eretz Yisrael from the other side of the Jordan, from Ever HaYarden. So they crossed into Eretz Yisrael from the east to the west, whereas the direct way would have been to continue to go west. All of this is confusing to us, and because of that, we rarely dwell upon the subject. But these are all psukim in the Torah. And apparently the Torah wanted us to know about it. But it explains why Paro would be so certain, because if it's a stam kibor achalam, so that they would keep on running. But here, because he thought that they turned around, they want to come back to Egypt, he said, okay, we'll help them come back to Egypt, we'll take them all back again. And that was his goal in pursuing them. Now Rashi says, quoting the Medrash, that all of this happened in 7 days, and that Paro was able to catch up to the Jewish people in 3 days, 4 days, and after they had traveled for 3 days. How was he able to do that? So again, if we say that they turned around, so it's obvious that Paro could get to them in a few days. If you say that they're continuing eastward, then why would he be able to? So Rashi attributes it to that almost miraculous, right? That Paro had kvitzas aderech to catch up to them. But if we say the other way around, that they turned around and they're going back, so then we don't have to come on to that. But that it was obvious that Paro felt that he could catch up to them and encircle them and bring them back to Mitzrayim. So you can get credit here for Geography 101 tonight. And if you have a chance, look at the atlas. It's well worth studying. Rabbi Hanani ben Akash Omer Ratza Kadosh Baruch Hu Lezakat Yisrael V'fichach Hirba Lahem Torah Mitzvot Shenemar Adonai Chafetz Aman Tzidko Yagdil Torah V'Yadim.
Amen.